You are listening to One Nation Under Crime, a chronological true crime podcast. Each week, we go through our nation's history and discuss one case from each year, starting in 1800. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Leah.
It's the week after Thanksgiving. You made it. You're here.
Whoop, whoop. And you're thankful.
Maybe. It depends on how your Thanksgiving went. I'm with you. I understand.
Thankful you survived.
True. So... And if you are a lover of Cyber Monday, that is today. So you can cash in on all of that fun stuff.
Hopefully your computer won't freeze up or anything.
Hopefully that's
get kicked
true.
out.
True.
It's happened before.
Hopefully you got some good Black Friday deals if you went out on Black Friday and got to go. Target, I'll tell you, of all the Black Friday places that does Black Friday correctly, Target is number one.
I used to be one of the people that went out for that. Now I just do it on the computer. Because I don't have to put on real clothes to do that.
Yeah, but I like to go out. I need to physically touch something to make sure that it's something that I want. Because sometimes things can come in. Anyways, it's not what you wanted. But Target does Black Friday, like, flawlessly. They always do a good job. Like, if there's only a certain number of things in the store, like, they make sure they pass out everything in advance before anybody walks in the door. They give you a map. Because they don't put all of the stuff in the store like where you would think it's supposed to be.
They have them like on the pallets, like
they've got
the middle of the aisle somewhere.
They've got like TVs in with like the
women's
freezers.
Clothes.
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense. So they give you like a little map that's like, if this is what you're looking for, this is where you can find it.
And they do that well.
They always do such a good job with that.
You're correct. And I have done that. I mean, like I said, I've done that. But when they started like opening on Thanksgiving Day, I was like, nah. Because I have 2 Thanksgiving meals to go to on Thanksgiving Day, and that's just not a possibility for me.
And that's why you just got to rally. You just got to get you some caffeine, and you got to go. That's the whole point of Black Friday.
Absolutely not.
So, hopefully you got some good Black Friday deals. Hopefully you were able to get in on all of that, and you had a good time as well. Now we're getting into Christmas season.
Let's go.
So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Ready to start singing some Christmas songs.
Nope.
It's been coming up on my my Apple Music because I just do shuffle and Christmas songs like in October. Well, like all year round, Christmas songs will come up because I have like I love Christmas music, and so I have like a whole lot of Christmas music on my, just songs, and I just do shuffle anyway. But starting in October, more and more Christmas songs start coming up, and so now I don't have to just skip it. Like after Thanksgiving is on, I'm ready.
Yeah, I told Ellie that we would set up our Christmas tree, so probably by the time this episode comes out, it'll be up.
Yay!
So we will see. But we'll get into this week's case. We're in 1827 this week, and we are covering the murder at Cherry Hill.
Oh.
Now, most times I try to keep names to a minimum. Now, there is a section of this.
Oh, dear.
That I told Leah about. That one day when my wonderful, handsome boyfriend was walking into the house, I am sitting on the couch looking straight at my computer. No TV on, no lights on, no nothing. Guys, it gets dark here early. I am sitting on the couch in the freaking dark, staring at my computer. And he walks in and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, I had just connected something that I never knew. That has now gotten me to connect everything else. And it connects this episode to like 4 of our other episodes.
Dun, dun, dun.
I was like, I can't. It was one of those events that I could not process what I was seeing at that very moment in time.
Like, is this real?
I couldn't.
Is this real?
There's a section where there are going to be a lot of names, but you will know those names and just stick with me through it. It's not a long section, but trust me, you will be intrigued as well. Our sources for this week, we have the Albany Rural Cemetery. They have a blog, and it was on there. And the always formidable Murder by Gaslight. are events in 1827. February 7th, the ballet was introduced in the United States at the Bowery Theater in New York City. February 28th, the Baltimore and Ohio was chartered, and it became the first railroad in America to offer both commercial transportation and people.
Huh.
So people and freight could go on the same train.
I was going to say simultaneously.
Yep.
Gotcha.
March 12th, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that imported goods in their original packaging are under federal jurisdiction and not subject to state regulation in the case of Brown versus Maryland. Essentially, the only thing you need to know about this thing, the entire premise of this case began when Maryland passed a law requiring importers of foreign goods to obtain a license to sell their product. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, nah, not having it. March 16th, the Freedom's Journal began publication in New York City. It is the first U.S. newspaper owned and operated by Black Americans, and its founder is John Russwurm.
Rustworm?
Russwurm.
That's better than rustworm.
April 2nd, inventor Joseph Dixon began manufacturing lead pencils in Salem, Massachusetts.
Those are very, very wonderful things to use.
May 21st, the Maryland Democratic Party was founded by supporters of Andrew Jackson in Baltimore, Maryland. July 4th, slavery was abolished in New York State. July 23rd, the first swimming pool in the United States was opened in Boston, Massachusetts. What?
Cement Pond?
November 15th. It's a cleaner one. I mean, the Creek Native tribe lost all of their property in the United States. Gotta love it. And an undated event, which was just interesting. The original Delmoicos, I believe that's how you say it. It's a restaurant that opened in Manhattan. It is the first American restaurant to introduce the idea of ordering from a menu and having a separate wine list for patrons to choose from. It held the title as one of the nation's top fine dining establishments during the 19th and 20th century. They were the first ones to actually give you a menu instead of just having like one thing that they serve and that's what you get and that's it. You could actually choose what you wanted.
Interesting.
And the second undated event, John Neal opened the first public gymnasium in the United States that was founded by an American in Portland, Maine. Gymnasium, for those of you who don't know. Gymnasium. That's what it looks like when you read it, so whatever. Births in 1827, February 17th, Rose Terry Cook, is an author and poet. Her first works were published in the New York Tribune, and she was related to Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. She is an Aquarius. March 25th, Stephen Bleecker Luce, who's a U.S. Navy admiral who founded the Naval War College. He's an Aries. June 9th, Francis Miles Finch. He was a judge, poet, and academic.
He's just all over the place.
Well, he is a Gemini, so that makes sense. Geminis are kind of known to have like two personalities. Like
I mean, like my sister who is a lawyer and has an undergrad in English and psychology?
No, because those things are similar to one another. You need psychology to practice law.
But she started out...
If she was like a music major, yes.
Well, she started out in math. Like she wanted to be an engineer?
No.
Well, I don't like you anyway.
If she were like a music major and then went on to be a lawyer,
she is a musician, though.
Well, then there you go.
She's got a very beautiful voice.
September 18th, John Townsend Trowbridge. He was an American author. He was a Virgo. October 12th, Josiah Parsons Cook is an American scientist who worked at Harvard. And he is known for his contribution in creating the measurement of atomic weight in atoms. Just wow. He's a Libra. Just, anyways, the fact that people at this time were so intelligent that they figured that out just still astounds me.
Yeah.
It astounds me now, and they had nothing compared to now. So it's just crazy. November 26th, Ellen Gould White was born. She was an American author and co-founder of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. For those of you who do not know, Protestant, it's a Protestant Christian denomination who observes Saturday as the seventh day of the week and therefore the Sabbath, and it emphasizes the second coming of Christ. Also known for adhering to kosher food and advocating for vegetarianism. She is considered a leading figure in American vegetarian history, and Smithsonian Magazine labeled her as one of the 100 most significant Americans of all time.
I couldn't do that because
She's Sagittarius.
Meat.
That is true. I don't know. I did vegetarian for a little while. I actually at one point knew quite a lot of people who were Seventh-day Adventists, so I'm very familiar with the religion. It is Saturday is like church day. You don't do you can go to church. That's it. You go home. And they were vegetarians. Very, very strict.
And if you can do that, then that is fantastic. But I'm sorry. I love to eat meat. I mean, I don't always have to have meat on my plate. Like I can go without meat for a meal. That's fine. But I mean, sometimes I got to have a steak. Well, or I like ham or bacon. I mean,
there's a lot of, because like I said, I was a vegetarian for I did just like a vegetarian thing for several months. I think I did it for like 6 months. But what I would do is, because a lot of people that I read that change to be vegetarian for a while and then they go back to eating meat, their body has really weird reactions to it. And so what I would do is I would allow one meal per week. I would eat something that was actual meat, chicken or something like that. And then the rest of the week, I would just eat vegetarian food. And I will say, in my quest during that time, there are a lot of meat alternatives that taste exactly the same. And I am a connoisseur of food, and they taste, and trust me, if I thought that they didn't, I would be like, that's garbage. It's not good.
Yes.
But a lot of them, they've come a long way with those things. So now, back at this time, your only option is just vegetables. That'd be a little bit difficult.
Yes.
Couldn't. But anyways, her name was Ellen Gould White.
And like I said, if you can do it, that is great. I like meat.
I could do it with the meat alternatives that there are. I wouldn't have an issue with it. And they're coming out with a lot more of them too, which is, so that's, anyways. Our deaths in 1827, February 22nd, Charles Willson Peale. He was an American painter, soldier, scientist, inventor, politician, and naturalist. He is known for his paintings of the leading figures of the American Revolution and establishing one of the first museums in the United States. It is now the Philadelphia Museum. April 29th, Deborah Sampson Gannett. She's a Massachusetts woman who disguised herself as a man named Robert Shirliffe in order to serve in the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War, making her the first female soldier in the United States.
Sounds like she's got some pluck.
Look, I looked into her. I wouldn't have messed with her.
Yeah.
She's like
Mulan.
I was just about to say, she's like Mulan for the Revolutionary War. Somebody should make that a movie. Trademark. If anybody else comes out with it, I get profits. November 10th, Saint George Tucker. Very interesting. Anyways, ST, Saint George Tucker.
Yeah.
So it's very weird. You're not a saint. Anyways, he's a lawyer and professor of law at the College of William and Mary. He's notable for increasing the requirements for a law degree and believed that lawyers needed deep educations in order to practice. That is probably your sister. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. We'll get on to our case this week because, like I said, we are going to get into such an interesting...
Will there be lots of gasps?
Yes.
I was practicing.
May 7th of 1827, Jesse Strang climbed onto a shed on the backside of Cherry Hill Mansion and fired a shot through a closed window, killing John Whipple.
Well, that was not kind.
We're in Albany, New York. We've been in New York a lot the past few weeks.
I'm assuming that this was an assassination and it was intentional. He was a sniper,
You'll see.
essentially.
You'll find out.
I need a straight answer.
No, you got to listen to the case. We are in, if I can't tell the people, I can't tell you. We are in Albany, New York this week, and we've been in New York a lot.
A lot happened
in the
New
past
York.
few episodes. Albany is the capital and located in the southeast section of New York State. It is roughly 135 miles away from New York City, and it's on the west bank of the Hudson River. The area where Albany is located was originally inhabited by the Algonquin-speaking Mohican tribe. Albany is one of the oldest surviving European settlements from the original 13 colonies and the longest continuously chartered city in the United States. In 1664, the name was officially established as Albany in honor of the Duke of Albany, who was the youngest son of the King of Scots. The city saw a major increase in real estate transactions during and after the Revolutionary War. The upper Hudson Valley at the time was shown to be a peaceful area away from fighting, and many flocked to the area to build homes. There might be something coming out this week for our listeners that might involve the Hudson Valley at some point.
Something.
So we will see.
Extra?
Maybe. We shall see. So, yes, they went there to build homes.
A little bit of a tease.
I know. That's what I'm known for.
Tease.
Due to this, in 1790, when Albany reported its first official census, the population was 3,498, which was a 700% increase since the city was first originally chartered. November 17th of 1793, a fire broke out, which destroyed 26 homes on Broadway, Maiden Lane, and James Street and State Street. The fire originated at a stable that belonged to Leonard Gainsfort, and it was suspected to be arson.
Uh-oh.
This is kind of sad for a bit. So,
oh no, animals died. Don't they?
No.
Oh, sorry.
It's
Usually
worse.
when you say it's sad, worse than animals died, kids die.
Yeah.
Oh no.
This relates to our story for this week, so that was why I had to put it in. Just be prepared to be mad. Anyways,
they're orphans.
No. Worse.
Oh gosh, Kayla.
I mean, look,
you're killing me.
I'm the one that had to research this, so I tamed it down.
Worse than orphans dying?
Yes.
Oh no. I don't.
3 people were arrested and charged with arson. Pompey was an enslaved man who was enslaved by Matthew Vischer. Dinah was a 14-year-old girl enslaved by Volkert Duau. And Bet, a 12-year-old girl enslaved by Philip S. Van Rensselaer. In January of the next year, the 3 were tried and sentenced to death. The 2 girls were executed by hanging on March 14th of 1794, and Pompey's execution took place the next month on April 11th. They had no proof that they were the ones that started the fire. Like I said, worse.
But why did they say they did it then? They were just.
I cut a lot of things out. You don't want to get into it.
They were just the ones that were there, and they were the ones that were easily pinned.
Scapegoat. In 1797, the capital of New York was moved permanently to Albany. It is the 10th oldest state capital in the United States, but it is the second oldest city that is a state capital after Santa Fe, New Mexico. Weird.
That is weird.
In 1807, Robert Fulton initiated a steamboat line from New York City to Albany, and it was the first successful enterprise of its kind anywhere in the world. There's a lot of history relating to Albany, but mostly, any Albanians. It's mostly known for its string of financial issues through the decades and recessions in the area.
Ruh-roh.
The other part of the history has to do with infrastructure, but honestly, that sounded boring, so moving on. Albany Albany has more than 60 public parks and recreation areas.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. Washington Park was designed by John Boggart and John Kayla in 1870 and opened the following year. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's a bit of a callback to our burial crisis episode. Not that too many people were buried in one area, but the area that Washington Park sits on today was a cemetery.
No.
The tenants were moved to Albany Rural Cemetery before it was built, but it just seems like a recipe for a haunting, if you ask me.
Hey, will you push me?
They're like, why are those swings?
On a swing.
Why are those swings moving at night? Oh, I don't know. This used to be a cemetery. There's no telling. So,
by the way, the lights were flickering in Michael's office last night. I was like, dude, does this happen a lot? You got paranoid, man.
You never know. That's why I always say you got to be nice to him. You never know who's listening. There have been some movies filmed in Albany, including Ironweed, which was a 1987 film starring Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. Salt, starring Angelina Jolie, and
I like that movie.
The Other Guys, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Have you seen Salt?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You hesitated.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
there are many movies you haven't seen.
We're getting to one portion of something that happened in Albany.
Uh-oh, she's looking at me, guys. This means I need to prepare.
Leah is not going to be allowed to speak.
Oh, no.
Until I am done.
Oh, no.
At all.
Oh, because I interrupt.
You'll see why. We're going to see that this is a test, guys. We're going to see if it can happen.
Can I sing?
No.
Oh, no.
You cannot speak at all. Because nobody's going to hear what's going on. So, one very notable person from the area is Gregory Maguire, the author of Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which, as we all know, was adapted into the Broadway show Wicked. And as I am sure most of you know by now, at the beginning of this month, the director for the movie adaptation of Wicked, John M. Chu, who also directed In the Heights, announced that the lead roles for the film are Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Cynthia Erivo is set to play Elphaba, and Ariana Grande is set to play Galinda. You may now speak.
I cannot wait for this to come out. I've been waiting on this to come out. They have been teasing me for years that this movie is going to be coming out. Look, I've always said that Leah Michele would have been wonderful for Elphaba.
I've always heard she's not a nice person.
Well, I don't care if she's a nice... I mean, I care. I want everyone to be a nice person. But I really think she would be a great Elphaba. I think she would be. I really think she'd be. I mean, because when she was on Glee, Idina Menzel came on Glee and they sang together, and I was like, yeah, I could totally see her like taking on the role. I think she would be really good as an Elphaba. But hey, I'm just glad the movie's being made. And can I tell you what else? What's his name? He was the fairy godmother in the Amazon Prime. What's his name? What's his name? You know who I'm talking about? Porter, right?
Billy Porter.
Billy Porter, yes. I would love for him to take the role, like, and reimagine the role of Madame Morrible. I would love.
I wonder if they'll do something like that.
I would absolutely love for him to take over that role and reimagine it for him. Oh, my heavens. I would love for him to play that role. I think he could. Oh, my gosh, I would love for him to play that. So that's why you told me I couldn't talk.
Yes.
And I'm really, really excited about it. And when I asked if I could sing, I did not know that's what you were talking about.
Now you see why I said no.
But now I'm really, really excited. And they have been teasing me for years that this movie is going to come out.
It's just like when they kept teasing Hamilton, like that they recorded it, but they don't know when it's going to.
Yes,
but
this is worse.
So,
and by the way, I'm a Galinda, in case you listeners forgot.
Beyond Elphaba.
Yes. I mean, like the first time I saw Wicked, I went with my cousins, and at intermission, they were like, "Oh my gosh, Galinda is Leah on crack."
Pretty much.
And they're right.
Not too much crack though.
Toss.
So for those of you who are not aware, because I was not 100% aware of who Cynthia Erivo, I believe is how you say it.
I'm not really familiar with her.
She is in the original cast for The Color Purple, and she was like Tony nominee. Like she's been in a lot of movies too. The movie that they came out with called Harriet, that was about Harriet Tubman. I believe she played Harriet. So she's been in a lot of things that have been very good. And she is part of the original cast for The Color Purple.
Okay.
So she has a very extensive playbill, entry. And then, I mean, everyone should know who Ariana Grande is.
Well, and she met.
I'm very happy about it.
Yes, and she is really good friends with Kristen Chenoweth. Like she actually, before she was Ariana Grande, like she met Kristen Chenoweth backstage when Kristen was Galinda.
Almost 10 years ago to the day, Ariana Grande tweeted that she had just seen Wicked and that her dream was to one day be in the Wicked musical.
I love it.
Almost 10 years to the day that the announcement came out.
Love.
So I really like Ariana Grande. I have a lot of respect for her in a lot of ways, but also she can just sing. Like she is, and can sing like
really sing.
I mean, and she was an actor for a really long time. She's been in a lot of different things. Like I think that for these roles, you have to find singers, so you need the actors,
but they have to be able to actually sing.
But they have to sing.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't realize that she has this capability, and I think that a lot of people are going to have a newfound respect for her after this. And let me say this. Let me say this. Okay, The Sound of Music. I could probably perform like the whole thing for you right here, right now, because we record. First thing we ever set our VCR to record while we were not at home. By the way, like major technological advance when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So we set it to record. My sister and I just about wore out the VHS tape. Okay. I love that movie. And they've done the live performances. I'm a huge Carrie Underwood fan. Girl can sing. She is beautiful. She has got legs that I wish I could have, half as good of a legs as she has.
She's vegetarian. Continue.
I did not love her in The Sound of Music. That is not her strength. Singing is her strength. I've seen her in interviews and I have absolutely loved her. She's a great performer. She's not an actress. So
it was not good. I mean, I hate to say that, but it was terrible.
Just because you are a great performer and singer does not mean that you are a good actor.
Just because you're a great actor does not mean you're a good singer.
Absolutely. So
now, the one person, I will say this. The one.
Oh, I have seen the petition to keep him out.
Who?
Oh shoot, the late night guy. What's his name?
Jimmy Fallon?
No. British.
Oh, James Corden.
Yes, there's a petition to keep him out. Keep him away from Wicked. It makes me sad.
He's not the one I'm speaking of.
I'm sorry. I thought it was.
The one beautiful man. I'll take that back. There are two beautiful men who are actors who have gone on to either have a movie or be on Broadway or do a musical themselves. One, Hugh Jackman.
He can do it all.
He's amazing. He's gorgeous.
He's doing music, man.
Yes. Two, Gerard Butler. He's the Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera.
Yes. Yes. Surprising. He surprised himself on that.
And he also did not want to take the role without making like the music judge, because he knew it was such a big role.
Yeah.
He wanted to make sure that he like did that. But two men who are fantastic actors who actually were able to like make the jump. Either way, I'm super happy for both of these women.
Yes.
They deserve it. I think it's wonderful. I love Ariana Grande. She is also a fellow Cancerian. I want to say we have the same birthday. She's born a year behind me, but we have the same exact, like June 26th.
Can I give you a hot take?
I love her.
I didn't love Hugh Jackman in Les Mis.
Well, I didn't love anyways.
I mean, I'm sorry. I love him.
Love the movie version of Les Mis, but I think a lot of things. So for those of you, if you have not seen Hugh Jackman's most recent beautiful musical movie, The Greatest Showman,
it's amazing.
He was given a lot of artistic license in that. I don't think he was in Les Mis. I think he was having to do what he was told. Whereas people have said that when, The Greatest Showman, like he had a lot of input on like a lot of things. And if you don't know, I mean, like The Greatest Showman, there's so many aspects to that movie that are so fantastic. Not even just the movie itself, just knowing like the behind the scenes stuff that like Zendaya was actually doing acrobatics without anything on her. Like she was doing, there were no wires connected to her. There was no nothing. She was doing all of it on her own. It's just crazy. And I mean, then just the whole thing is amazing.
Yes.
And the one that plays the bearded lady, she was originally on Broadway. She is one of the original cast of Waitress.
Okay,
and
I didn't know that.
She was so when they first brought in everyone for The Greatest Showman, they were only supposed to, they were bringing in a group of people who were amazing singers to tweak the music to get it right before they cast people. She was one of the ones that was there for that. And then they ended up getting to it, and Hugh Jackman was like, y'all can't replace her.
Yeah,
she is,
and he had to talk her into it too.
She had. There's a video of them like rehearsing in a just like a script reading room.
Yes,
and he like grabs her hand and she starts crying in the middle of her scene, and it's just like it's such a beautiful moment. But he really told them, he was like, y'all can't replace her. Like you can't. She's it.
This is her, and
it's just such amazing. Anyways, we got to move on. We could talk about musicals forever, but we've done it for quite a while. So the man who wrote the book,
which is very different from the musical, and if you haven't read it, you need to.
He wrote the book. He is from Albany.
It's very dark and twisty, by the way.
I love it. So Cherry Hill is a beautiful estate that overlooks the Hudson River, and by the time of our story today, it was already 40 years old. It was built in 1787 for Philip S. Van Rensselaer. Now,
that's quite a fancy name.
If he sounds familiar, it's because he was involved in the stable arson in 1793. One of the people who was hung was one of his slaves. The youngest of them. Anyways, and if you thought we've talked about another Van Rensselaer in a previous episode, then one, good for you, you get a cookie. Two, you are absolutely correct. In a previous episode, our episode of 1824, we discussed Stephen Van Rensselaer III, who was the founder of Rensselaer Polytechnic University, aka the oldest technological university in the English-speaking world. Philip and Stephen were brothers. And are you ready for me to blow your mind?
I'm gripping my chair.
This took me hours to figure out, and I am so excited. So just wait. Just wait. You can respond after. People will lose it because there's a lot of names. All right. Are you ready?
Holding my breath.
Guess who Stephen Van Rensselaer was married to from 1783 until her death in 1801?
Mrs. Van Rensselaer.
And do you know what her name was?
I just told you.
Peggy Schuyler. But wait, there's more.
And Peggy.
And Philip and Stephen had a sister. Her name was Elizabeth. And she, like I said, stick with me, guys. It's worth it. Trust me. Elizabeth was married to John Bradstreet Schuyler, who is the Schuyler sisters' brother. Let me continue. The patriarch of the Schuyler family, Senator Philip Schuyler, was married to Catherine Van Rensselaer. So, to bring it back, the S in Philip S. Van Rensselaer is Schuyler. His name is Philip Schuyler Van Rensselaer. He is the one that owned the house that we are speaking of today. He was named after Senator Philip Schuyler, who was the father-in-law of Alexander Hamilton. And there you go.
Wow.
Right?
That's mind-blowing.
The only way that I've thought, because I was like, Van Rensselaer. I know we just talked about that because I had to figure out how to say that name.
And Peggy.
And I was like, weird. And so I went back to Stephen Van Rensselaer and I was like scrolling through his Wikipedia page and all of a sudden I see married to Margarita Schuyler. What?
Say what?
Yeah. Anyways, so also, if you look up the most wealthy people ever, Stephen Van Rensselaer is number 22. At his death, he was worth $20 billion.
So way more than $500.
Then.
Ooh.
It's like the equivalent of like 210 billion today.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah. So
Peggy was set.
But they weren't married long. She died less than 20 years after they got married. And then he married again. But yes. So Philip Schuyler Van Rensselaer made his money by being a merchant and a farmer. But don't let this fool you because he already came from money.
Apparently.
The Van Rensselaers have a family tree Wikipedia page.
Oh my gosh.
Their family tree is on Wikipedia. That's how I had to figure out all this stuff and connect everyone. And it's not cohesive. But they have their family, like the only other family that I can see that has that is like the Rockefellers. Like the Queen. Like that's the only thing that I can see that like this makes sense. So originally, the Van Rensselaers obtained their wealth by being a part of the Dutch East India Company. This probably sounds familiar because there was a Dutch and a British East India Company. The British East India Company might come back in something coming out this week. Anyway, they traded spices, silk, sugar, wine, all those things. So the Van Rensselaers were a part of it in the beginning. Philip, he was also the mayor of Albany 2 different times.
Just for funsies.
But Philip died in 1798. But at the time of this story, his wife, Anne, some sources say her name was Maria, but everything that I saw, her name's Anne.
Well, perhaps.
On the official,
Maria,
on the official, no, because I looked at it. I looked at her full name to see, is there something in her full name that makes her like Margarita and Peggy? That doesn't make sense.
Well, but a nickname for Margaret is Peggy, which makes no sense, but that is.
But
common.
I was looking up her name. Nothing in her name indicates she would be called Maria, and she's only called Maria in 2 sources, and everything else says Anne. However, sorry, but if you go to Murder by Gaslight, they call her Maria. everything I found says Anne, so I am calling her Anne. So at the time of our story, Anne was still living at Cherry Hill, even though her husband had died many years before. Not only did Anne live there, but also 16 other people.
Oh.
Anne was in the north side of the estate, and her son, Philip P. Van Rensselaer, had the south side with his wife, Catherine, and 4 of their 7 children. Again, too many? Yes. The southwest bedroom was rented to John and Elsie Whipple and their son. Elsie, so I said Philip Van Rensselaer was married to Catherine, right? And then John and Elsie Whipple also lived there. Elsie was Catherine's niece.
Okay.
Yes.
So it was rented to them or
rented, yes.
Oh.
Because they were not technically a part of the family. Like, yes, they were related-ish, but not. She wasn't a Van Rensselaer because Catherine married into the Van Rensselaer, so she was renting it from Anne Van Rensselaer. So yes, Elsie was known to be a bit overdramatic and rebellious. Same. Her father died when she was young, and Elsie was raised by her grandmother and mother, who also had the same personality traits.
Oh, dear.
When she was 14, and I put WTF, she eloped with her next-door neighbor, John Whipple.
She eloped at 14?
John was 23 when Elsie was 14, just in case that is not totally clear.
Oh.
The elopement did not go over well with Elsie's family.
You think?
Especially her grandfather, Captain Abraham Lansing. You see, Captain Lansing had given Elsie's father a substantial amount of money and land that was supposed to go to Elsie.
Oh.
But now John Whipple would be the one to take that over because
everything went to the husband. That was her dowry.
So, many people thought that John was a bit of a gold digger and that he conned Elsie into marrying him.
I ain't saying he a gold digger.
But Elsie, he conned Elsie, they think that he conned Elsie into marrying him because he knew that she would be the heir to all that money.
And she was 14 years old and she had stars in her eyes.
In fact,
she got attention from a man.
Captain Lansing was so convinced of it that he took John Whipple to court in an attempt to get the money and land back. Captain Lansing lost.
Oh, no.
Once the captain had died, once the captain died, the family eventually figured, he's going to be around, so we might as well be nice to him. Plus, John Whipple took that small inheritance and turned it into a small fortune.
Well, at least he didn't, gamble it away.
Right.
I mean, at least there's that.
This is where Joseph Orton enters stage left.
Orton?
He was a workman who lived in one of the basement rooms of Cherry Hill.
Oh, a basement room.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound creepy.
He was, I'm going to assume affectionately, called Doctor because he knew how to read and write and he wore glasses. Anyway, he did typical work on the farm, repaired parts of the house and chopped wood, but no one knew that his real name was actually Jesse Strang. And to top it off, he had a wife and 4 children in Fishkill, New York, who he abandoned 2 years before.
Dear. Which was much easier to do back then.
Yeah. He apparently pulled the I'm going out for milk and never came back.
At least it wasn't cigarettes.
He faked his own death as Jesse Strang and came back as Joseph Orton. We are going to call him Strang. So Strang noticed Elsie for the first time when she entered a tavern in town with her cousin. It said that the girls got a little rowdy, a.k.a. they were tipsy, and Elsie came across to Strang as sprightly, playful, and giddy. He told the tavern owner's son that he wanted to sleep with Elsie.
Oh.
It was after that when Strang went to work at Cherry Hill. His feelings for Elsie grew. They passed each other in the home, and sometimes they exchanged pleasantries, but most of the time they did not. Until one day, the two were talking with one another, and Elsie noticed something in Strang. She asked Strang to write a letter to her and tell her about his feelings for her, and Strang was extremely confused. After all, Elsie was married, and he didn't want to cause any trouble with someone in the house of his new employer. But this was too good for him to pass up. He wrote Elsie a letter. Later on, the letter was destroyed, but during Strang's trial, he reconstructed the letter, which supposedly said, oh, there's a lot of misspellings in this.
Oh, I hate going back and reading old
bad.
stuff because you're like, I mean, did we not have a consistent way?
Like, knowing is nowing. Intention is intention.
It's kind of like when you read a Facebook post of someone, you're like, I know you graduated high school, but
it's bad. Instead of two, like TOO, it's TWO. So just know what I'm having to read through. Dear Elsie, I have seriously considered on it as you requested of me yesterday, and I have concluded to compose a few lines to you, and I thought it was not my duty to write very freely, not knowing your object. Perhaps it is to get some of my writing to show to your husband, as you are a married woman. God, this is harder to read than I thought. And if that is your intention, it is my wish for you to let me know it, for it is a thing that I scorn to make a disturbance between you and your husband. But if, on the other hand, it is out of pure affections, I should be quite happy to have the information in your handwriting. And I hope that you will not take any this is what this says. I hope you will not take any offense in my manner of writing to you, as we are perfect strangers to each other. But hope that those, which he spelled hop, but hope that those few lines may find free acceptance, reading this word for word, with you, and after I found out your motive, I can write more freely on the subject. And, well, yes, I remember typing this because I thought that I was repeating myself. Anyways, and hope that these few lines may find free acceptance with you. After I find out your motive, I can write more freely on the subject, and as for my affections, they are quite favorable. I shall expect an answer from you if that is you motive. So,
oh my,
I remain your well-wisher, Joseph Orton, a.k.a. Jesse Strang. Later, Elsie handed Strang her response, which said in part, my motive is out of pure love for you. She ended the letter, I remain your true and affectionate lover until death separates us.
Oh.
All of hers was spelled correctly. Just saying. So, much like our previous episodes, this just sparked another Romeo and Juliet situation, except for this time, Juliet was married with a child and Romeo abandoned his family. But whatever. They kept exchanging letters with one another through the servants. Their love allegedly grew, and it became a fun game between the two, who didn't have any privacy to steal away with one another. But according to Strang, the two did have, quote, criminal intercourse. Elsie romanticized about her running away with Strang and how they would be able to do this together. They needed money, for sure. But Elsie wasn't entitled to any money while she was married. The two made a pact.
Because her husband had her money.
Mm-hmm. The two made a pact with one another that they wouldn't dare speak of the affair between one another, and if anyone found out, then, quote, they would hang together.
Oh.
This is giving me Beauchamp Guides vibes hard.
How romantical.
Right. Spring of 1827, the secret couple decided they needed to do something in order to be together. So, obviously, Strang bought poison.
I mean, duh.
Elsie's husband took a tonic every night, and the plan was to put arsenic in the tonic. Well, much to their chagrin, this only made Elsie's husband have stomach cramps, and it actually didn't kill him.
With litter.
With the first plan failing, the couple went and found a hitman to take care of the job.
There you go.
But the hitman was a bit outside of their budget.
Hmm.
Then the final plan was put into place. Strang would kill Elsie's husband himself with a $25 flintlock pistol. Then the gossip mill started, but of a much different kind than what we have seen before. Both Strang and Elsie spread rumors that Elsie's husband had run into some unsavory characters and they wanted to kill her husband.
Oh, at least they were a little bit smart about this.
Strang added on and said that he had seen strange men around Cherry Hill. Strang formulated the plan to shoot Elsie's husband through the window. On May 7th of 1827, Strang took off his boots and his outer jacket and climbed onto the shed beside Cherry Hill. He hid in the shadows of the house watching the room. Elsie's husband was talking to someone in the room and he backed up to lean on the window. Strang took this as his chance and fired a shot which hit his opponent under his left arm. Strang ran and hid the rifle. He quickly picked up his jacket and put his boots back on and went to the house to, of course, act shocked that Elsie's husband had been shot and killed. No one suspected Strang. In fact, he was sworn in as a member of the coroner's inquest once the coroner arrived at the house. Strang talked about, quote, the men he had seen lurking around the house. But his excitement and over-exaggeration of the events led everyone to look at him for the murder.
Oh, man, he played it too hard.
He was arrested the following afternoon, and a fortnight, 2 weeks
I was
later,
going to say, that's 2 weeks.
Elsie was arrested
not
as
just
well.
a video game.
Mm-hmm. So, 2 weeks later, Elsie was arrested as well. Originally, Strang confessed to the murder and told the prosecutors in his case that he hid the rifle and exactly where to find it, and that he was the one who shot Elsie's husband through the window. He thought that if Elsie was convicted, her family would likely get her pardoned, and he hoped he would be included in that pardon.
Oh.
But when his lawyer made him aware that was not the situation at hand, Strang withdrew his confession.
Too late, dude.
Yeah. The trial started, and there were so many people in attendance that the trial had to be moved. The streets were still covered with onlookers seeing how the trial would go. It was kind of like seeing the OJ trial. Like, people were just waiting. Remember when there were like 16 people in that house?
Oh, yeah.
Well, those people were witnesses for the prosecution, and they were very quick to tell the court that Strang was one of the ones who spread the rumor that Elsie's husband had enemies after him.
Mm-hmm.
Even the shop owners who sold Strang the rifle testified.
Oh, dear. Not looking good for him.
They also testified that Elsie bought arsenic.
Oh, no.
Then the bonus witnesses were brought in.
Bonus?
The local hotel keepers who saw Strang and Elsie together on multiple occasions.
Oh, no.
It took the jury a whole 15 minutes.
I'm surprised it took that long.
Before declaring Strang guilty of the murder of Elsie's husband, John Whipple. Elsie's trial was next, and it kind of went along the same lines as Strang's, but there was a bit of a hiccup when the prosecution tried calling Strang as a witness. Because he was convicted and not sentenced, the jury did not allow Strang to be called for testimony. The judge decided to not allow Strang to testify at all in the case. The jury didn't even deliberate in Elsie's case, and they acquitted her of all charges.
What?
August 24th of 1827, around 40,000 people showed up to see Jesse Strang hanged for the murder of John Whipple.
40,000 people.
There were people in the crowd selling pamphlets titled The Confession of Jesse Strang, made to C. Pepper, Esquire. Strang held the pamphlet in his hand while on the scaffold before he was hanged. Strang said, quote, "This contains a full confession of the great transaction for which I am about to die, and every single word that it contains, to the best of my knowledge, is true. If there is a single word in it that is not true, it has been inserted by mistake and not by design." A bit of a trigger warning here. This hanging is a bit brutal.
Oh, no.
So skip forward about 10 seconds if you don't want to hear about it. Strang's hanging was botched, and the fall did not break his neck.
Do we think this was accidental?
Yes, it was accidental.
Okay.
He swung for half an hour, struggling before finally suffocating. Strang's was the last public hanging in Albany history. Elsie went on to marry a man named Nathaniel Freeman, and she died only a few years later in 1832. Cherry Hill is still able to be seen today. It is open to the public, and there is some claim that the house is in fact haunted by an unknown specter. It's a big debate in the area as to whether Jesse Strang or John Whipple are the ones haunting the area, allegedly, but no one really knows. And that's the murder at Cherry Hill.
That's just sad.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
And she didn't get punished at all. I mean, no, she did not do the deed herself, but she was in on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and she's the one that was in on the buying the poison to go into the tonic.
Leah.
Oh.
She is nothing but a silly woman.
Well, and she was of a different class as well, which don't get me started on that business.
She's just a silly woman. She was just doing what a man told her to do. Leah, do you not understand this?
I know.
She couldn't possibly be smart enough. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, that was my interesting case for the week of how everyone is connected to one another.
That is kind of crazy.
Which, when I told my boyfriend, I said, "Oh my gosh, like they really wanted to keep it in the family."
Yeah.
And he goes, "And people want to say that Southerners try and do that." And he goes, "Little do they know."
This is true.
So we have a website where you can find any and all ONUC information you're looking for. It is onenationundercrime.com. We are One Nation Under Crime on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and at ONUC Pod on Twitter. If you love our podcast as much as we do,
and we hope you do.
And last week, I know you took all of your relatives' phones. You subscribed to our podcast on all of them. You all gave us a 5-star review on all of them. So just keep it up. Just keep doing it. We also have a Patreon if you would like to help with the cost of making and hosting the show. There is a bit, if you've listened this long, then you get the insider track of information. Because,
drumroll,
y'all are getting a bonus episode this week.
Woohoo!
We've talked about it before that if we had enough Patreon subscribers and we kept moving forward, that we would eventually do a history show where we cover, big parts of history, things that we don't have time to cover in this show.
Because we go down rabbit trails.
Well,
I mean, because we cover so much other stuff.
Well, there is a lot that we cover in each episode. We just don't have a lot of time, to go through things that happened at that time.
And some things we don't have time to cover as thoroughly as we would like.
So that's what we're doing. Eventually it's going to move over to Patreon, but as a bit of a holiday treat for you all, you will be getting a bonus episode every week from now until the end of the year.
You're welcome.
It's not going to come out on the same day.
Nope.
It's going to come out later in the week.
Because Kayla's only one person.
But I hope that you guys enjoy it. The first one will be coming out in the next couple of days. So you just get to hear us more than one time a week. Lucky you. And this also is going to be an opportunity, guys, if you obviously join our Patreon. Once we have it, once we're done with these episodes, they will still be out there for y'all to listen to. But after that, everything will move over to Patreon for that as it goes. And this is the show that you get to make requests. So if there's something that happened kind of around the time that we're still discussing that you would like for us to cover, tell me and I'll research it and we might cover it. So that's it. We appreciate you guys for listening to this week's episode of One Nation Under Crime.
And all the episodes.
And we know that you're going to listen to the bonus episode.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Right? So as for One Nation Under Crime, we'll see you here, same time,
different crime,
next week. And remember that there isn't always liberty and justice for all. See y'all in a few days.
Bye, guys.
Bye.